Hello everyone. In the previous video we began looking at factoring quadratic trinomials. Now we also introduced quadratic expressions which can be written as ax squared plus bx plus c. And in yesterday's video we were just looking at trinomials where the a value was 1 and we introduced factoring using this box method. So today and in the next video we are going to look at factoring trinomials where a isn't 1. So to start us off, in this first video, I'm just going to go over these first two examples. So, this key fact, and this is extremely important. When factoring, whenever doing any type of factoring, you must always check for a greatest common factor first. Remember in a couple videos ago, we talked about a greatest common factor. We were factoring those out. So now we need to apply that same strategy when dealing with trinomials. So let's look at example 1. I've got 7x squared plus 35x plus 42. So I need to ask myself, what do they have in common? What is the greatest common factor of 7x squared, 35x, and 42? Well, I notice that they each have a 7 in common. And when I factor out a 7, I'm going to be left with x squared plus 5x plus 6. So now, at this trinomial, I need to use the box method and factor that if possible. So, I've got a box. I'm going to put x squared there, 6, and I need to find two numbers that multiply to give me, sorry, not negative, two numbers that multiply to give me 6x squared and add to give me 5x. Well, those I'm going to find to be 2x and 3x, because 2x times 3x gives me 6x squared. 2x plus 3x is going to give me 5x. So now I'm going to factor out the greatest common factor on the rows and on the columns. And once I get this step, I need to write my final factored form. Now it's very important to remember, guys. You have to remember to drop that greatest common factor. That GCF is coming along for the ride. And what's left over is x plus 3 and x plus 2. And that is my final factored form. I have to include the GCF in my final factored form. If I don't, it's not correct. So remember, from here, I can just double check by multiplying everything together and making sure I get back to where I started. Now, let's look at number 2. We always have to ask ourselves, what do they have in common in terms of the numbers and the variables? Well, I see that my leading term is negative, so I have to factor out a negative. Then what do they have in common between 4, 24, and 32? Well, those each have a 4 in common. And what do they have in common in terms of the x's? Well, I got x cubed, x squared, and x, so each of them has an x in common. So after I factor out negative 4x, I'm going to be left with x plus 6x plus 8. So now I look at this trinomial and I do my box. So I've got, oops, I forgot an x squared, sorry. So I'm going to put x squared up here, 8 down here. So they need to multiply to give me 8x squared. They need to add to give me 6x. And after thinking about it, I find that those numbers are going to be 4x and 2x. And now when I factor the GCFs of the rows and the columns, I'm going to get x and 2, x and 4. I can double check by multiplying. But my final factored form is going to be my greatest common factor, and then these two binomials that I just found using the box method. Okay? So this is what we're going to practice the next time I see you. Make sure you watch this video, copy down these two notes, and I will see you when I see you.